are 2022 Stanley Cup champions.
Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to the Cluster Puck Podcast, part of the MHRT network here at Center Ice. I am Nick. Beside me here, as always, is Brit. Had a little bit of a voice malfunction on Monday, Brit. You look like you're feeling better. You sound feeling better. Everything good?
Yep. As I've been saying, I think that's God himself telling me to just stop talking for 2 days. So I did because I had to. I kind of started feeling crappy on Saturday, and then by the end of the Musketeers game, I'm the MC for that, so I do all like the talking on the mic and stuff. I sounded like a screaming wounded animal. It was awful. When I had to name off the Chuck-a-Puck numbers, I could, like, the last few, I was like, I have no idea if anyone knows what I'm saying. I'm like, you guys might want to put this on the screen, or it's not pretty, which sucks because it was a super fun group of people. So everybody still had fun, but usually I get more chances to make fun of them a little bit harder, but I couldn't because
there you go. And
so
sometimes destiny comes back and bites you in the butt. I've been around, man. I've been anxious. We got so Mike here at MHRT. He texted us both saying, "Hey, do you just want to cancel this?" And we're both like, "No, we want to talk about the Edmonton game. Like, we want to talk about stuff." Yeah. So we figured out schedule. We wanted to make sure that we got this episode in from all the games that happened last week. There's only a couple happened this week. And the Avalanche are basically on a mini all-star break again, as they hadn't played for like 5 days. And they get another back-to-back. And it's just a stupid, whoever did the scheduling for the Avalanche this year, I just kind of want to talk with them about what's going on in February.
Well, and even like Bednar complained about it, and Bednar does not complain about anything. So if he is like making a comment about the schedule, then you know it's not just complaining people like me throwing it out there on Twitter, because if he says it, it's pretty legit. So it's ridiculous, honestly.
Exactly. Yep. But no, other than that, I've just been bottling up all my emotions from the last week. And so finally I get to let free and be happy about it.
You guys go do some basketball things, or what was
we did what now? Sorry.
We had
so the NBA All-Star Weekend was here in my home state of Utah, in Salt Lake City, and so my wife and I, we didn't want to pass up on that opportunity. And we follow in all sports, right? And the two professional teams that we do have in Utah are the Utah Jazz and Real Salt Lake, and so we decided to make a date night out of it and went up and had an enjoyable time at the Rising Stars game. And the whole thing I thought was really well done. You know, a lot of people think that Utah is a boring place, and it is, as far as there's not much to do. I won't deny that, but at the same time, it keeps the athletes focused on playing their sport, making sure there's no distractions. I think it's perfect for an athlete's atmosphere. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. So but I'm ready to get back to the hockey mentality, man. It
feels like the Avs haven't played in like 5 years now.
It seems like forever. Yep. So before we get started, we just want to make sure that you guys are aware that you can follow the show on the MHRT network. You can get shows just like the Cluster Puck, 5280, Broncos Breakdown. I mean, there's so many great shows on this network. Make sure to go and follow the MHRT network on YouTube, Facebook, wherever you can get that show. To like and subscribe. If you want to follow us specifically and keep up on our content, you can follow us at the Cluster Puck Podcast on Facebook, and then at Cluster Puck Avs on Twitter and Instagram. Okay, so let's dive right into this, because we had a lot of games that were played, and the Avalanche right now, before we begin, they're on a point streak of 5 games, which is extremely, it's great, right? Did have a shootout loss there to Tampa, but at least you had a point, so everything's okay. Overall thoughts, though, on how you think the Avs did this last set of 4 games?
I don't really think that there's anything to be mad about. I think that loss to Tampa, I mean, we blew a 2-goal lead, but it certainly wasn't a hard-fought game. We did show tenacity. Kind of some bad luck there. I think it's safe to say that we didn't deserve to win the Minnesota game and that we got out of there without deserving it. But it's not like we haven't played teams that didn't deserve to beat us, and they did. So, I mean, you just got to take what you get, and that's just hockey. It's like a fortress sometimes, no matter how good you play. I think we had like 19 shots and the Wild had 43. And it was definitely a goaltending disaster for Minnesota. But then the St. Louis game, I mean, we totally anticipate beating them. They have to be totally demoralized. And then the Edmonton game was a banger. So yeah, I mean, I'm satisfied with how the last week has gone. We can't ask for much more, especially when you consider the trajectory from where we started to where we are. It's all up, I think.
I totally agree. It's coming back from the All-Star break. It was not the funnest. I'm not going to lie. It was kind of like, what is going on? You went from bad to worse to okay. But I think at this point, there's a couple realizations that I think that this team has to make. And the first one is that you will never have a perfectly healthy team. Like, that's just get that off the table. You won't have a healthy team. It seems like with that injuries, it's like we're plagued with it this year, that you can't escape it.
I mean, I'm not sure if everybody's kept up. We played all of those games without Cale Makar. Left during which game? The first Tampa game?
He was, let's see. So he got the hit against Pittsburgh. He didn't play against Tampa the first time or Florida.
And then he came back against the Lightning, didn't he? And then got that hit. And
then he got punched in the face, which was amazing.
Left and came back. And then
he left again. So I think he just played that half of that Tampa game, and I think that was it. Yeah. So it's like we've been pretty Macarless for the last couple of weeks, and it shows. He's
undefeated with Makar out, or
and
something.
That's just it. It goes to show a couple things about the team is that, like, number one, they will play hard hockey. They kind of played with that chip on their shoulder saying, hey, we don't care if we're down one of the greatest players to freaking play defense in the history of the game. We are going to show that we have what it takes to win. And, because last year, their whole motto was find a way. And I wish we could have just kept that motto and just copy paste to this season.
More ways,
because that's exactly what the Avalanche are doing right now, is they are finding ways to win. So, granted, we don't like them. Yeah, no kidding. But they are not in the most stellar of fashions, but at least they're finding ways. That's kind of the more important part. That, like, kind of like what you said, though, finding a way to lose that Tampa game. We'll touch on that real fast. They lose that in shootouts 4-3. First thing, though, they played a much better game than they did the first time, by far.
There's not much to complain about there. I mean, we got a fluke goal, and then really nobody played that bad. We put 35. Vasilevsky ended up with like 43 saves or something like that. I mean, this was just a game of. I mean, you play 7. You might win 6, or you might win. It felt like the playoffs last year. I mean, it could go a different way tomorrow, and then you could play the same game, and same tenacity, and have different outcomes every single time.
Yep, it's absolutely right. But the downfall about that, though, was 0 power play goals. Obviously, something to look at. But and that's just it. Is that's another uptick. So down on the power play, but up on the penalty kill. So again, there's kind of pros and cons. The one that I can think about, though, is the fact that you had a 2-0 lead, and
that's
then a 3-2 lead, really, and yeah. But all in all, they played better. Just kind of what happens when it goes to shootouts. You're going up against Vasilevsky. I was kind of like,
second night of the like,
I don't know what you do.
I don't know. And if it
But,
hadn't been second night back to back, you got to wonder. Like,
exactly, right?
oh no,
and that's
this was
just it.
the
It's
first
like
back to back. I lied.
it was, well, and even so, you don't want to go that far because you think about what you have next, right? So at this point, you got to
They
be thinking
sheltered
next
ice.
game. So it's
Right.
like take a
But
point,
this
walk
game,
away.
Didn't they bench Manson for this game so that he would have fresh legs for Minnesota? It was some. I thought they
Yes,
benched
because
someone.
that's Minnesota. It was Minnesota that Manson declared he is back with this
Man.
absolutely vicious hit. It was clean. It was according to the rules.
Boy.
Wow, it was powerful.
He's
It
so
was amazing.
unassuming, and then he lays hits like that, and you're like, man, he's hiding something, some kind of
He is.
anger.
He's just super
I don't know where
casual,
he
kind
takes
of
it
does his thing, and then just bam, he'll just like hit you.
crazy, and he's just so nice and delightful. It's very bizarre.
And that's the thing is he made his presence known defensively. I feel like they did a very good job in this Minnesota game. So again, this is kind of like what we're saying. It's a back-to-back, and it's just like, what are you going to do, especially when you're doing a home and away back-to-back like all of these have been and these two upcoming will be. It's not an easy thing to do, let alone jumping forward into a different time zone. You get in at 3 a.m, whatever time it is, and you're still able to pull out a 3-2 win. You could tell that third period, it will just hold on for dear life.
Yeah. Well, but what's weird is we came out in the first with quick legs, and you would have thought, we came out flying. Yeah. Cogliano scored that goal, right away, didn't he? And you could see that goal go in, and you could see Fleury just slump immediately. And it's like Cogliano. I mean, that's a goal that like my beer league teammates would judge me for. So I mean, it happened.
Not even 5 minutes in, you're right.
Yeah.
And Dennis Malgin, he hits a goal.
The hot,
amazing, finally, right?
Yes, the man apparently finished it. I'll learn how to finish. So yeah, good for him though. Like he's got it. He's got everything but the finish. Every single thing but the finish. So hopefully he can ride that. We'll see. I don't know. He got a goal in the next game too, didn't he? Or was it this one also? No, he got a goal in the next game.
He had the goal. It was back to back somewhere. I'm trying to see. Did he have one in the Tampa game? I'm looking real fast. Yeah, he had the unassisted goal in the Tampa game, one in the Minnesota game. And again, he's played lights out. The one against St. Louis. Did he have any? I don't see any points for him there. And then Edmonton, I feel like anybody and everyone could have had points. So let's see.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, no, but he still played great. It's like you couldn't see any mistakes. But
he did, and he has, and he's done essentially everything but score the freaking goal with how many open nets in front of him. Like it's.
I know, and finally a couple of them break his way. But I honestly think this trade, even though it was kind of depth for depth type stuff, we have walked away with that one.
No, I think so, and
like kings.
I believe that they already waived Dryden Hunt, didn't they? Or I don't even know.
I want to say they did.
Okay.
Or they sent him down to their AHL or something.
Yeah, he's I think Malgin has a lot higher ceiling than Dryden Hunt does, but I don't know if you saw that they did re-sign Timmins, so they were kind of cold on him. They were hot on him, cold on him, and they ended up re-signing him to like a 2-year deal. So that's good. That guy's got some bad luck, man. If you could just not.
I know.
He's like he's breaking like some very important.
Poor guy.
Poor guy. Yeah. So it's good for him.
Definitely.
Considering he's probably going to win a cup this year now that Toronto has O'Reilly and he just walks out there and scores.
That's exactly right. And that's another thing we'll talk about as far as trades go. We'll get to that after the weekly look ahead and stuff. But overall, though, the Minnesota game, it just the one complaint I had, if I could have any, was that ice was not frozen enough. Everyone, and everyone, refs included, were falling over, tripping over themselves, running into each other. It's like they couldn't make tight C-cut turns. They couldn't do anything. Oh, it was painful to watch. Like that third period, I was like, oh my gosh. Like,
yeah, it's
and for the score to be what it was is pretty fantastic.
They should all have perfect ice all the time. It's wild. But you can see, like, in Vegas and stuff, when you have those times where, like, the puck's bouncing off the board's weird, the icings are different, like, it changes so many things. It changes, like, the rebounds, if they're not moving in the crease, and the crease is torn up. It's, something that a lot of people really don't think in depth about how much it truly affects everything. But, yeah, so we had Tampa Bay Tuesday, Minnesota Wednesday. Then we had Thursday, Friday off. Then we had St. Louis Saturday and Edmonton Sunday, which WTF with all the matinees too, because we are historically not very good in matinees.
Not very good.
On Saturday, and I get my ESPN notification, and I'm like, "Wait, what?" I didn't realize it was at 2. I was thinking, yeah. So, and I don't understand why they couldn't make the Edmonton game not a matinee game, so that they could like sleep in after traveling, from St. Louis home. So I don't know. But yeah, so 2 back-to-backs in 5 days, which is absolutely absurd. Absolutely.
Yeah. And not fair to boot, right? It's just not fair.
Especially hard because usually Tampa Bay, Minnesota, St. Louis, and Edmonton are 4 of the hardest games that we get up for. It's not like the schedule makers don't know that. I don't know. It's not like it's like bitching about the refs. It doesn't do anything, but it feels kind of good to get mad about it. But
that's exactly right. You can't do anything about it, but at least you got it off your chest.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's talk about the St. Louis and Edmonton games real fast here. We're going to spend more time on Edmonton because that was definitely the more thrilling of the 2 games. But St. Louis, you won in a dominant fashion, but it was also very boring.
It was.
I don't know how to describe it.
I just think St. Louis, I was like sitting there thinking on it, and they traded Tarasenko, and then once they traded O'Reilly, and I thought about it, like how defeating it must be for that team, because essentially that core that won the cup, just before they played us, they essentially dismantled the whole. This was their last game, and I thought that they would keep O'Reilly until that. This was their last game that worth anything for the trade deadline before they essentially just sent all the boys, and Binnington, nobody, I mean, even he couldn't get hard for it. So it's just, I just think that they're totally deflated. And it looks like that Kyrou is possibly moving here soon. I mean, they are just straight up fire sale. So I don't know.
It's at a point where it's like, Binnington's ate so much of your cap space, and he's now kind of just on his downward stroke, and Kyrou and Parayko and whoever else they have there, just seems like everyone ever since O'Reilly left, and we're the first team that plays them. They're just like, it's that was kind of the nail in the coffin as far as they have decided that they're A, going to be sellers at the trade deadline, and B, they don't think they have a shot to make it to the playoffs. At least that's what it strikes it to me.
Other than Sammy, I think he had scored like 1 goal this year. So he doubled his goals. He scored like 1 or 2. I'm pretty sure it was his second goal.
He is kind of Blues material from the start. New York, and my wife can attest this. Just it wasn't fitting. So for him to go back to St. Louis, kind of where he would call home, and you could definitely tell he played more comfortable and stuff like that. But yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on. But the big news on this one, though, Justus Annunen gets the start for the Avalanche, and I'm thinking, it's against the Blues, who historically hate us, we hate them. It's going to be a bloodbath, whatever. He was rock solid, man. Granted, there weren't too many shots that came his way, but still, he blocked all but 1. You can't ask for better.
He looked comfortable. I mean, I think that's the most important thing, is like he was controlling rebounds well, and that's something that limits. Usually, I think that when you have these more amateur, newer goalies that are moving up, and they with this incredible shot count, and they play an amazing game, I think a lot of it is because they don't control rebounds well, so they make more shots for themselves. But he just looked, he kind of scares me a little bit. He gives me some really weird vibes. I was really surprised to hear that I think it was Jesse Montano said that in the locker room, it's so surprising because he's got this like round baby face, but I guess he's like pretty jacked for a goalie, which is like when you look at his face, you're like, and it was so funny when you they were comparing him and Vasilevsky, like they had face to face, and then there was something with him that Georgie, and it was like these three dorkwads are literally like some of the best hockey goalies in the world.
So one thing that I thought was really funny during that broadcast, so Antonin, this was obviously before the first goal went in, but they had current percentages, including people who have played current games of highest goalie save percentages, and right at their first place it said Eustace Antonin with 100%. And I was like, well, he's only faced like 3 shots, but still, I suppose. But no, he played a stellar game. I think everyone played a stellar game, but again, like I said, it was just slow. It was not as gold classic.
It was Bo time. Bo Byram comes out and gets himself 2 goals.
Yeah.
And that boy is mad. He does things like gets penalties and then scores some goals. That's lots of hooking penalties. But yeah, he had himself a game. I mean, so nice to see him in his essence and not
He's
just
back.
Being with a concussion. Yeah. Yep,
it's great stuff. And then Val Nichushkin gets on the board. Mikko, obviously, he nets a goal. That's not surprising. So it's good to see kind of pickups. This is kind of a good pick-me-up game for people like Nichushkin, for people like Bowen Byram, like you said. But yeah, it just and that's just it. It's like that allowed the slow pace, that's not very typical of Blues Avalanche, where this one, they were just slow. The Blues just kind of were like not there. So it's good to get some new blood out there to score and get points and stuff like that.
Which is always Blues. Even if they put like their children out on the ice, it would still feel good to beat the Blues. Like, I don't know, but it was a nice, relaxing game before the chaos that ensued after.
The big one that we like to call the comeback of the century. Okay, maybe not, but still. This one, and mind you, so this is the Edmonton game. It's another back-to-back, second leg of it, from away to home. Just everything about the scheduling part of it sucked. But this one started out probably no worse than you could imagine. Down, so they it was a 1-goal game at the end of the first, and then Edmonton nets 2, relatively quick ones, and you're down 3-0 at that point. And I'm at this point, I turned it off of the big TV I had, and then I turned it to the small TV, or my small TV, my phone. I really should be more frugal about what I call stuff. My phone. And so I was just like, I'll just have it just to kind of pay attention to. I let my wife take over the TV and stuff, and I was like, whatever. And then next thing I see, it's 3-1. I'm like, okay, at least we made some kind of game out of it. And then it becomes 3-2 after JT Compher hits Val Nichushkin hits his goal. And I was like, okay, perhaps this is something. And then go figure, Tyson Barrie, the one and only, my good old buddy, my favorite player in the history of the league, he nets a goal. And I'm like, I'm happy for him. But I was like, at the same time, you're killing a comeback, dude. Like, come on. And at this point, I was a lot more comfortable than I was that first half of the game. I don't know how you felt about that up until that point.
I mean, that first period was just like, oh, wow, so defeating. You have Fogel get that penalty, then come out and immediately get another penalty, literally like before his other foot leaves the box. It was such a bizarre thing. Wasn't that on Byram? Like, I think he went after Byram. I really wish I could know what Byram says to people, because God, when people go after him. So then he gets these 2 stupid ass penalties. I can't believe he wasn't benched, honestly. And then he's like, sorry, dudes. I'm just going to go out and score a goal. And then the second period
score another one.
Score another goal. And I'm like, okay, so let's reward the jerks. And they weren't, the second goal you maybe want back, but almost none of the goals in this game were that bad on Georgie. But after the first period, I was like, okay, It's a scheduled loss. It's gonna be okay. They're the ones with they're the ones that we defeated.
They're higher in points, they're higher in standings.
Yes.
All that stuff.
And so then you got that little bit of hope. And then, once we got the nuke goal, I was like, okay, I'm feeling a little bit like I'll take a respectable win. And then Tyson Berry scored. And I'm like, okay, here we go. So I definitely, we still watched, but it wasn't like a feel good thing.
It became background noise at that point.
Yeah.
But third period happens, and obviously the Avalanche just come to life, right? With the exception of Matthias Janmark, who scores a goal to make it 5-3 at one point. The Avs tie it up with about 4 minutes left in the game. And honestly, I was thinking up those last few minutes, I was thinking we could net another late goal and win in regulation. I absolutely thought that was on the table.
You had Max scored 25 seconds into the third. Janmark scored 4 minutes into the third. Then you had O'Connor and Lehkonen score within like 5 or 6 minutes of each other. So it was like we could just score like one goal every 3 minutes. So we can definitely score again.
It'll be great if we keep that pace.
We're just gonna score 20 goals. So yeah, it's a get. But I also kind of got to the point where like, okay, now if we do lose, like it's good. I'm good. Like we worked super hard. It's a respectable loss, but then it's like, let's see what we can do. And then Mr. Clutch himself, Lehkonen, it's those people that just for big moments. It's crazy how there's just people who
thrive in it, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. He's
matters most, and they pull through.
Yeah, yep. And so then once you get to overtime, you're like, all right, it's a point. We 3 points out of another back-to-back. That's
and that's just it. Is once we got to overtime, I was thinking, okay, it depends on who our offensive pairing is with their offensive pairing, because for a fact Draisaitl and McDavid are going to be together.
Oh yeah.
And I think they paired them with Nurse or something like that. I don't remember, but at the same time, I was like, at this point, the fact that we took them to overtime is great. I'll take it. I didn't think we were going to win this game first 30 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
And to see just how close some of these shots came. Some of these shots missed by. It was pretty scary, but every time I had the puck, we had the puck, the Avalanche had the puck. There was just some feeling that I was like, I feel like this drive for them to win, that this comeback wouldn't be satisfactory with an overtime loss. I think they're going to get it.
Especially after they did with Tampa. Like it's like
exactly right. What you couldn't seal the envelope on in Tampa, you really want to do against Edmonton.
Yeah.
Granted, it's not a 4-point sway or anything, but it's an extra point that you really, really do need because wins are at a premium at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And lo and behold, in the dying-ish seconds of the game of overtime, Mikko Rantanen gets the face-off pass to him. Basically carousels his way from the right to the left.
Isn't it weird when you face off so you can do?
It's crazy, I think we might have won that face-off percentage, though.
Yeah.
I'll have to check. But the goal was amazing because he kind of figured out exactly what Campbell was doing when it came to blocking those types of shots. So as he was coming around that left side, he held that puck right on the toe of his stick and waited for him to bite. And as soon as he did, I knew it was over.
Pointed in an open net.
In front of his crease. Oh my gosh. And the comeback was complete.
Yeah.
And you win the game.
It was Mikko Rantanen just does things sometimes that you're just like, who knew? But we know, but it's like we forget him. I feel like last year more so. I think this year he's getting his credit, but it's so easy to be like, oh my God, Mikko's disappeared again. Nico's just going back and not pulling his weight, and then he's like still like putting up, a point per game.
Insane amount of points. Yeah. And because here's the thing, though, he's got with that overtime goal that puts him at 36 on the season.
Mm-hmm.
And I am not hearing a peep out of him being in the Hart Trophy conversation.
No, they did that top positions survey amongst GMs. Did you see? I think Peter Baugh was talking about it. And he I can't remember. I want to say he was like 5th for the wing position. And there was 2 GMs that did not even have McKinnon in the top 10. And it's like, it's mind-blowing. So it's like, you got to assume, like, you guys hope you're not doing any of the scouting for your team, because if you truly don't have McKinnon in the top 10 centers in the league, then you're high. Like, you're genuinely high. So I don't know. But yeah, Rantanen, when you consider what the Hart is truly supposed to be for, like the value for your team, I mean, he literally has hoisted us up and just carried us over a mountain multiple times.
He really has. And in moments like these, you know, where it's like you need someone to score. And I'm at a point now where it's like, of course, it's Mikko. You know, that's kind of who my trust has resided on when it comes to getting a goal, to either get some momentum started, to finish off a comeback like this one. Mikko has kind of turned into that guy this season. And it's like he's on pace to have over 50 goals. He might be somewhere in the 60 range now. And it's like they put up a graphic that only 2 players, 2 Finnish players had ever achieved that.
Really?
One of them being Teemu Selanne, and I don't remember who the other one was, but it's like he's doing stuff right now that is, for him, leaps and bounds better than he has ever accomplished.
Yeah,
and it's just not being talked about.
Yeah, and I feel like Jeff Merrick is like one of the only media sports personalities that acknowledges kind of those underappreciated people. He always says his favorite player is Gabe Landeskog, and like I also think that Gabe Landeskog is one of the most underappreciated players in the NHL. But he brings up rants occasionally, and that, I mean, it's bizarre that if you were just a casual NHL fan, you would genuinely really not know he existed unless you watched a game that he stood out in, because he's just not discussed. It's the same names over and over again, the same drama names. There's particular characteristics that get mentioned, but he's never on there. And part of it is probably because he's not obnoxious and flashy and loud, and he's just kind of a quiet guy. But that's most of the Avs. So.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, with where Mikko's at versus where the rest of the team is at, it's nice to see other players also kind of starting to get that momentum back. Kind of like with what our friends here at Sports Nonsense and Whiskey, the newest show on the MHRT network, by the way, go check them out. They are a lot of fun to watch. Very knowledgeable with the sports realm. It's incredible. But they just said if we could get Nichushkin back in his groove, the same way he, like when he started the season, because you remember at the first 10 games, it was insane how Nichushkin he was your fulcrum. He was the team's driving force. And so if you could get that back, pair that with how Mikko's doing, Nate's on the come up, I mean, really you could have, all kinds of momentum, just individual momentum here down the stretch, which could really prove to be efficient and beneficial for us as we're trying to rack up wins, stay ahead of the game, in the playoff spot, stuff like that. So good comment here. Sports Nonsense Whiskey is getting people to find that groove of theirs again, get back to how they were. I'm pretty excited here for the next slate of games, especially in the month of March, where we have a lot of favorable matchups.
It's like one of those, like, I don't know if I should be scared or excited. Like, what Arizona's got like the last 9 points. I'm so pissed right now. Like, you guys need to stop winning all these games. And then it's this whole chicken ordeal is so bizarre. Like, he's been out for like 13 days. It's so crazy.
And I know it's all without him too. It's like, what?
Yeah, and that's it. They're doing it without him. They need to trade that goalie. What's his name? Is he Vamilka? What's their
Vamilka? Karel Vamilka?
Look, I can't believe. Honestly, he'd probably be worth some money right now too. You got to wonder.
And not to mention, they have Connor Ingram.
Dude, that guy's like
he's
like laced with just a little bit of magic, but then he's
something. Allie and I watched that Arizona Tampa game because it was
Yeah.
right after they played us. They went down to Mullet Arena down there in Tempe, and it was a masterclass of what
So
Ingram
crazy. Just
did. Oh my gosh.
if that was like the most saves in a goalie's first shutout, right?
Uh-huh. And he beat, guess who? Karel Vejmelka, his own teammate from I think a year prior, 2 years prior, something like that, by one save. It's like,
Crazy.
the goaltending in Arizona is actually rather fantastic. They just need to kind of build around that, and they're right back in this stuff. Like, they are currently on par
Well,
with
like,
Vancouver. They're only a couple games. I had it pulled up here, but they're only a couple games behind of like Montreal, stuff like that. It's like these guys, even though they're kind of still bottom dwellers, you can't really rule them out yet,
4 years, I tell you, they I think they've done the rebuild right, and
Yeah.
they have like I think the whole first round just goes to them next year. They have a lot.
They've got a lot of good stuff. Yep. So yeah, that was the week. So again, 3-0-1 on the week, 4-0-1 the last 5, so you have a point streak, so you have something to hang your hat on at least. So right now with this break, my worry, and we'll get into this in a second, my worry is that it's that question of rust versus rest, because this was like a junior all-star break,
Yeah.
I worry that they'll just come out because it's against Winnipeg, who is the next rank higher than you out in the conference. You have games in hand on them. You have 3 games in hand to both Winnipeg and Dallas.
Yes.
And you're only out by 4 points.
Right? Yeah, Dallas passed Winnipeg last night.
And both of them had regulation losses.
Yeah, swapped or something, but yeah.
Yep. So any type of loss is something we can appreciate.
Winnipeg's going to slowly fizzle out here. I don't know how long you can ride.
Maybe.
I just think have not.
I'm a little more hesitant to say that just because of we thought it would have happened kind of by the All-Star break, and they are just still winning games.
Yeah.
Dallas, I think, might.
I think
they are. I think are a little bit more likely, but at the same time, who knows? Because they're still playing at a pretty high clip. And like I said, you're only 5 points out of first place.
Yeah, we could still win the division for sure. I mean,
it is still within the realm of possibility. Well, within the realm of possibility.
Yeah. So sports whiskey nonsense. It feels like we have just like a couple little like gold mines that we're just waiting to click because Makar is such a huge part of our offense last year. I mean, our defense was a huge factor in our offense, and Makar has how many goals he scored this year? It's shockingly low, and that's what I said the other night when Taze got his goal, and they said it was his 4th goal this season. It was like, geez, because they're big contributors in our scoring. So when we can get them, I just really hope that this Makar thing is short term and that they're taking it very, very overly cautious, as we know that they do, and that he'll be good to go after these 2 games. He is sitting out the next.
Yep.
I don't know. I just hope they're being really cautious because if his career is affected.
Yeah, concussions are definitely not something that you want to take lightly. Because we've seen the effects of what happened to Bo Byram last year, where we thought, all of us were just thinking, even though he had that drive to come back, and he ended up coming back, everyone, and I'm not kidding when I say everyone, was just like, dude, take the season off, get yourself back in order. We want you to have a healthy career. And luckily for him, it panned out. But still, it's like every time he gets in a fight like that one against Minnesota, you're just like,
don't touch him.
Please don't touch his head. Don't hit him.
Being compounding with them being closer together. But it was weird because they had said that Makar he wasn't called by the spotters for the second one. He left because his face mask hit his nose or something like that and came back. And so that you got to kind of wonder, like, what are the spotters doing there then if they're not spotting that, especially when you'd imagine that the concussion spotters have a list of guys that have gotten a concussion in the last few weeks. Like, so I don't know. I thought that was kind of weird. And it seems like, are you guys like, you would think that any hit to the head, like, questionable for someone who had recently had a concussion and been under concussion protocol, he would have been an automatic pull. But I didn't realize that he just left because of a visor issue. But yes, we need Kale operating in Kale ways. And also, we need him back because Taze has played 30 minutes like the last 3 games. And that can lead into, so like with the trade deadline stuff, do you think that we need a D or do we need a forward? Do we roll with what we have for the second line center, or do we need to add a little depth D so that we can push stuff down a little bit? Because it's
well, and one thing to take into consideration is with people coming back, Landeskog is back skating, so hopefully he'll be back by the end of the season. And I don't know if I'm debating this. I mean, I can see it going either way. I really can, but I don't know if the Avalanche are going to be trade awake, I guess, if you want to say. They might not make any acquisitions. If it, like, I would like them to. I think it would be great for them to get a third line center and probably a third pairing on defense. But at the same time, I think Andreas Englund has played just fine. I think Comfer has been great. Malgin's been fine. Like, they've had all these players that have shown glimpses that they have what it takes, and they can hold their own and stuff like that. So I can see it going either way, where you get someone that's already proven and have them replace someone as far as a production standpoint goes. But at the same time, I could see them just letting this trade deadline go by. They have the team that they have.
That's what
it's difficult
now, especially. I did say that we were in on Ryan O'Reilly, which I was kind of like, Ryan O'Reilly. But yeah, so the trade deadline is probably going to be really boring at this point because there's just not much left. They want Hall for Timo Meier, and I just don't think that this is the year to farm.
I know. Plus, it always makes me sad whenever there's a San Jose, Colorado trade, because it's like my team A and my team B just swapping, and it's like it could be worse. It's like I like San Jose,
Well, at least you get to keep cheering for them in different aspects. But we're not big on rentals that aren't restricted free agents. And Timo's qualifying offer is $10 million next year, which I don't think anybody's going to give him that. But it just might be more complicated then, especially if we have to trade in like a sweetener. And then everybody's all about this Henry. He has not played since like early December. So I don't know. The longer we go, the more it seems. And it sounds, does your Rangers lady in the house know? It sounds like Kane is going to the Rangers too. Apparently they're just pulling money.
Believe you me, she has been on Twitter like a hawk. She's well aware. In fact, I have it pulled up here. I'm refreshing every so often.
Every time goes off and it's not hockey, I get so.
I feel like it's kind of all but confirmed at this point that Kane is going to the Rangers.
What are they trading? What do they have left?
I don't know, but it's like it sounds like they're just hammering out the deals, and the official announcement is going to come. At least that's what everyone is saying. So will it go through? I'm assuming so. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know what else you have to give. And then that's just it. Like, going back to the Avalanche, we don't have money to spend, unless we do the route where we put Johnson on IR, pick up another defenseman on long-term IR, or put him on long-term IR, and then have him back for, pull the Tampa thing,
Even still,
we just don't have money.
We'll still have to, if you get a third team involved and do a sweetener and even just
something.
I just don't. We don't have a lot of it.
with some money retention or something. I don't know, and that's just it. Is you and I can play armchair GM all we want and think about these bigger names, but we know McFarland and Sakic have tricks up their sleeve where they go after the guy no one thought about.
Yeah,
you know.
A lot of people are talking Pugiargi. I don't know. I've heard it a million times. Pugiarvi. And he goes into him, and it's been shooter. But then I just don't understand, why would Edmonton want to make us better? Like, you know what I mean? We have him picked up somewhere over us taking him, or I don't know. Maybe I'm totally off.
And that was my thing. It's like with Jesse Pugliarvi, I know he's like really good friends with Mikko. He's Finnish, all that kind of stuff. But from what I just hear, it just seems like he had just tiered himself down almost to a part where he's getting scratched now at Edmonton. So it's like, is it just a change of scenery that he needs in order for him to play better? Because last season he was really good.
Jared, but he's the project guy. You don't take Stone Cold Nichushkin and make him a $7 million top sixer. I mean, I don't know, but I'd be curious to see what they look into with the locker room, because I just don't think they tolerate any shit in the locker room, and they're not willing to take on people who are issues. And that also kind of makes me wonder with this Merkley guy, speaking of naughty attitudes, if he's I mean, I wonder what he's coming against. Like, is there any chance he can see? I haven't even looked to see if he's played with the Eagles yet, or if he could see some NHL time, or how that works at all. But I'm curious.
Yeah, I'm having both socials up to see if there's any kind of update. But
I've given up a big there's after Horvat, and I just don't think that, and now that Taze is not being traded, I just don't think that there's really any, unless it's one that literally like a Lehkonen type thing, where it's not a home run to people who don't pay attention, but other people are like, that's a good idea. So we'll see. Feel bad for the people who have to do like the 10-hour coverage of deadline day, because everything's
I know. The deadline, I believe, is the 3rd of March.
Yeah. I did have somebody arguing with me that the Avs should take Larkin. Just like, I don't want to pay him $8 million either.
I wish, man. That way we'd have two of the most good-looking fellows on the NHL out on the same team.
But they're about to make it in the playoffs. So like, screw it. Let's go win this.
There you go. But I mean, it's going to be interesting to see, because right now, unless you're just going to do some depth moving around, I don't really know what moves you can make, except for the Eric Johnson to LTIR and grab a defenseman. So maybe we're in on the Chychrun sweepstakes.
Dude, I don't know. I was getting like real freaked out, thinking maybe we were trading Frankie when they were moving goalie stuff and Jesse was pulled, and I was like, are we going to trade?
Oh yeah,
that would be the
lot
one
of stuff happening.
Would Edmonton not want the goalie that destroyed them last playoffs? I don't know. I mean, when you think about it, Frankie is a huge asset to a lot of teams, and he's simply he
would make a starter for a lot of teams.
For sure.
No doubt about that.
Edmonton especially.
Yeah, the thing is, and that's just it, is with a trade, I'm kind of looking at the same thing as like getting a piece back from injury. It'll take another, however many games for that to gel out and kind of sort itself out. Yeah. So I'm just like, do we really want to risk that right now, or do we just want to keep the team that we do have that know how to play together? And obviously Matt Nieto being the new guy, but he was at Colorado before, so I'm not really.
I don't know. I think I would feel more comfortable with one more tenured defenseman to where
we go with the defensive route. I can see that definitely.
Just because last year I feel like we're good, and I guess there is a chance that we'll get EJ back, but EJ back from a broken foot after already he took a very big step down in skating. He might not even. I just really want him to retire after this year, so we don't have to like scratch him or trade him. Or
and that's just it. It's like his career has been nothing but injury plagued.
I know. Just that, baby. Don't try to come back.
And it's like he played a full season healthy last year. He won the cup. Everyone was expecting him to ride off into the sunset and stuff like that. Doesn't end up doing that. It's fine. He did, he's not playing bad, or he didn't play bad, whatever. But he's a $6 million cap hit. it's like you could easily put him on LTIR and go start flashing money at some defenseman like Chikrin or something like that. Heck, in a perfect world, I'd get Tyson Berry back.
They want like 2 first-round picks or like 2 prospects, 1 first-round pick and 1 prospect equal. I mean, they want a freaking haul, and they said, we'll just keep him if we don't get that.
I know. So I don't know.
It's crazy.
We'll see what happens. But first things first, we have to look at the road ahead of us. And right now, we have 2 games remaining until our next episode. So another back-to-back. Go figure, right? They are already on a plane to Winnipeg, which they will play tomorrow. And then right after that, Saturday, they play Calgary. Not an easy string of games to play, considering the last time you were at Winnipeg, you got absolutely murdered. That was, like I said, one of the 2, that and the Tampa game, the first Tampa game, were the 2 worst games of the season by far. So different mentality, different attitude. What do you think, Britt? What do you think the Habs need to do to secure a win for this one?
They just don't scare me nearly as much. I was trying to look. They've been on kind of a losing streak, haven't they? They've had a couple bad games.
Let's see.
So they're 35-22-1. I think
lost 3 out of their last 4.
Yeah, they just don't scare me that much. Morrissey, though, bless his heart, seems like such a nice guy, but he's tearing it up. Other than him, I don't know. I just I think if we get out there and get a big start right from the beginning, games we got to get out there and play hard the whole game.
Yep.
Sucks not having Kale there, though. But I really think that both of these games are very winnable. We got to win this after getting our asses kicked so bad, especially when Winnipeg games usually are so not emotionally driven. They're just a team that isn't. They don't evoke many strong emotions. Then they come out and beat us like that, and it's like, what the heck? What are you so mad about? but because we need to win that game, because then when we get to Calgary, you've got a team that's reeling. Their coach is on the verge of being fired. They're going to work hard. Most likely their goalie is going to lose the game for them, who was in the run for them last year, which is just crazy. The guy is just the goalie mind is such a weird thing. But I think Calgary's not hard. It could be dirty. It could be we don't know at all what we're gonna get out of Calgary. So we need to get that win in Winnipeg so that we can feel good going into whatever shit show
exactly. And
the thing was they won the off-season trades. They won all the GM. He won it all, and then now it's like they are out of a playoff spot a lot of the time. I don't even know if they're in one right now. Are they?
They're currently not. They're one slot outside of the playoffs, which is wild considering all these things. And I'll get to my keys to the games in just a second. But if you look at who, because right now we've said the Avalanche have had a terrible season. That hasn't been anything up to par with last season, which it really hasn't. They have not played to what they were last season, right? But at the same time, no seasons are ever identical, right? But if you look at the actual standings and who Colorado is ahead of or equal to on points, or just about there on points, they've had a good season, like all things considering. As far as a point standpoint, you're just like, you're fine. You're 5 points out of first place. You can pick that up, no problem. And it's just the only thing is you're just not storming the entire back half of the season. That's just it. So with the Winnipeg game, I absolutely agree. It's a bounce back game. You want to show them that the team that you had then is not the same team you have now. Right. And that's one of my keys to the game is it's called mirror, mirror on the wall. Because it's a magical mirror, right? Because that's the whole saying, right? Well, this mirror does not reflect exactly who you played the last time.
Yeah.
This is a different team. Obviously there's still going to be those key players out. Their stars are out with Cale Makar. And are they going to play Manson Do you know?
I think so. I would think so.
I think
Man,
they said they would. They were going to
like,
try. But that's just it. It's a different team. You have to play like a different team, very similar to Tampa, right? Even though both results were not exactly satisfactory, it was still night and day different with how they played versus game 1 versus game 2.
Yeah.
So that would be my Winnipeg key to the game number 1. Key to the game number 2, and you touched on it, score early. You need to break Connor Hellebuck, because he right now is just he is one of the reasons Winnipeg is doing so freaking well. You know? So
nope,
he's big, he knows what he's doing, he's extremely wise with the game, and it's a matter of getting around him. I'm not worried really about anyone else on that team as far as skaters go. It's just him.
It really is. It's honestly insane. I was trying to find out. Oh no, he's not. I was thinking he was the one with all the shutouts, but no, I mean, he's literally carried him on his back single-handedly. I don't know. Riddick is the back goalie, so they're like, we can't put that guy in.
Pretty much. So it's going to be a game of our offense versus him. Ultimately, I think. Could I be wrong? Of course, but that's just kind of where I think it's shaping up, given where both teams are in the season. It's a 4-point swing, and these points are going to really matter, and that's going to be my key to the game. Number 3 is points. This is going to be a heavy points game, because this is the team that is right in front of you. Yeah. And it's points for the taking. It's 4-point swing for those of you who don't know. Even though a game when you win, you get 2, a 4-point swing is interdivision, right? Because those 2 points could have gone divisionally to the other point. Instead, you're taking 2 away from one, putting them toward you, hence a 4-point swing. So it's going to be really important to win this game in regulation, I might add, because we can't afford to give Winnipeg any points. So it's going to have to be a matter of play a full 60 minutes, get it done, keep them out of contention from the get-go. Don't let them come back, don't let them score, don't hold your own, play a full 60, and walk out of there with 2 points and hold them to 0.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and that's what we need our guys as here. We're gonna need Nate to step up. I mean, we need our top guys to do stuff, and then you rely on some little help from the depth, but these are the weeks where, and you've seen it with Nate. I mean, you thought Nate was crazy last year. There's been times, I think it was that last Edmonton goal that he got, he's like, I'm gonna go win this game. I do not want to lose this game. And you can just see it when he's like, this is not over, I'm done. And it's incredible to watch him just decide to win or to score. So yeah, we need those top stand up for sure.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, back-to-back number 2, or game number 2 of the back-to-back, I should say. This one's at home, go figure, at 8 o'clock. So it's going to be an okay time, but as much rest as you can. But at the same time, it's a Calgary team, like what you said, they are desperate at this point. They are going to play like their season depends on it, because ultimately it kind of does at this point.
A lot of jobs and a lot of, just moral standings with their fans, and they're just not where they should be.
Yep. So key to the game number 1 for me is fire and ice don't mix. So Calgary right now, like very much what you just said, they are kind of in this downward spiral, I should say. Trying to pull this up. They have won 2 of their last 5 with the game against the Golden Knights tonight, which very well could be they've only won 2 out of their last 6, right? Depending on how this game goes. But at the same time, it's like they are not really skating like a team like we thought they would. Like you said, they won the offseason. They got all kinds of pieces. They got Kadri. They got Huberdeau. Daryl Sutter was one of the Coach of the Year nominees. They had the fantastic team last season.
Was a Vezina candidate, and this year
exactly.
say
Exactly, right? It's right now they're just kind of a little laundry list of has-beens and never wases, you know? So that's one thing you got to take advantage of. Very similar to St. Louis, what they did. They're if you can tell their emotions and their attitude is down, hit them. You know, keep your foot on the gas, keep your foot on their throat, stuff like that, and don't let them up. That's one thing that the Avalanche tend to do is play down to a team's level. They
For sure.
can't afford to do that in this game.
It'd be nice to just like really run up the score, get some goals, because this is a game you should be able to do it, but you know how those games go when you expect to win and expect to score. So
Exactly.
I think our season series is tied. They beat us. Oh yeah, that was one of the was that the second game? October 13th? And then January we beat them. So it'd be nice to close that series on top.
Now both of those games prior were in Calgary, right? Or was one of them here? I'm trying to look here. So at Calgary. At Calgary. So this is the only one against Calgary where it will be at home. So Kadri will finally come back to Ball Arena. Yeah. That'll be fun to see how that goes. That is key to the game. Number 2, by the way, is don't let Kadri feel at home at Ball Arena. Yeah. So far, it's been kind of lackluster for all those new pieces, Kadri included. So you don't want them breaking out of that shell in our game, you know, because Kadri, he ends up playing really well against former teams, and us being a former team, you can only expect that he will come back in some capacity. Bless you. So keep him out of this, and really, it's just a mentally stable game. Play Avalanche hockey. You know, not much more else to say other than that.
Yeah, I mean, they should both be relatively uneventful events or uneventful games. It'd be nice to just cruise in, get a couple wins, and then we got a little streak going, and we can look for some consistency in the schedule and in general.
Yeah, exactly.
We've had none in the last 2 months, essentially. On the entire year, like starting with the Finland trip all the way through. I mean, it's just been a very, very choppy year because I don't know. The schedule.
Nope, I totally agree. And key to the game number 3 for the Calgary game, I was debating. I didn't put one down because I was debating between 2 of them, but I think it'll just be this: is your rust better be gone by the time you reach Monday. And just it seems like the Avalanche, like for example, once we got back from the All-Star break, it took them quite a bit to get back on what their track was of the, as they were winning going into the All-Star game or weekend and stuff like that. The game against Winnipeg, you should not have to have rust, but by Calgary, you should for sure not have any rust. Back-to-backs are not an easy thing. I understand that, but you should still be in your fighting shape because of the fact that you are playing a back-to-back. So hopefully it's kind of similar to what it was with the St. Louis Edmonton or Tampa Bay Minnesota, where they came in and won the second half of the back-to-back. That would be more than ideal for me. So that would be my third key to the game, is make sure all your rust is gone, because the following week, just little look ahead, you have got a hefty slate. So
especially considering who knows who the Vegas Knights will have acquired by then with their lots of extra money they have run into.
They somehow just have all this money. Yep, totally.
I know, poor Mark Stone. No, I feel bad for him, but we'll see. I mean, I don't even know who is left for them to get at this point either. Maybe they'll get but.
Some blockbuster will come out of Vegas. I'm almost guaranteeing it at this point, because they
whatever
they tend to surprise me off the ice. So why not on the ice at this point? So anyway, those are, again, just 2 games until Monday. And again, Monday's episode, we should be on regular schedule. So same time. And then
when is trade deadline after a show? Before.
Say that one more time.
Is trade deadline before or after next week? next
I
Monday.
believe, let's see, trade deadline.
Oh.
Friday, March 3rd is what
Okay, I
it's
was gonna
telling
say.
me. Yep.
So maybe
So you have a week till tomorrow. A week from tomorrow is when the deadline is. So there's going to be it's going to be a fun week
yeah.
as far as trade goes, just to
Yeah,
keep
I
your
was gonna say
phone
we
on
might
you. And
very little games to talk about, but maybe a little trade news. Or maybe if we don't have anything from Avs, we'll go a little short and then do a little trade line talk later in the week. We'll see how it
absolutely.
because who knows what the Avs are gonna do.
Yep, I absolutely agree. So I think that'll actually do it for this episode. I don't think we have any other talking points. Britt, if you have any business to state, I guess. Okay, good deal. Well, thank you, everybody. We appreciate your patience. I know it's a later in the week episode, but we love having you guys on every single time we do these episodes. We really appreciate it. If you like what you saw, don't forget to like and subscribe and follow the MHRT network, where you can get notified when shows such as Clusterpuck Podcast go live. You can follow us at Clusterpuck Avs on Twitter and Instagram. You can follow us on Facebook at the Clusterpuck Podcast. We do have an email. I continue to botch it, so don't even worry about it this week. I'll get it. I'll get it nailed down at some point. But once again, guys, thank you for everything. We love talking hockey with you guys. We love your guys' participation. Any notes to add, Britt?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, very good. Well, let's go grab a couple more wins before Vegas. And as we like to say, go Avs go. Have a great weekend, everyone.
See,
you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
Because this party is over.